So, a few days ago we saw ourselves a trade between the New York Rangers and the Dallas Stars, wherein the Rangers sent over defenseman prospect Nils Lundkvist in exchange for a first-round pick. Now, there was a little bit more to that, but at the end of the day, that was essentially the deal. It was a pick and a conditional fourth or whatever the heck it was for a guy that was not reporting to camp, that wanted out, was very adamant about wanting out. And a lot of people, myself included, kind of said, wait a minute, how the hell did the Rangers get a first for a guy that was already in such a precarious position like he was? If anything, the Rangers' bargaining power in any sort of trade conversation should have been taken away, but at the end of the day, they end up with another first, so what the hell? Good job, New York, for finding a team that was willing to pay that price. With this in mind, though, I wanted to bring up another article that popped up on the New York Post published by Larry Brooks, going over what this trade means for the Rangers and what they can do in the future. No, I'm not talking about who can they draft with the conditional first that they might not receive until 2023 or 2024 or whatever. That's not what this video is about. This is what Larry Brooks writes about when it comes to the Rangers trading Nils Lundkvist to the Stars for a first-round pick, and how this trade is the crux of the matter for the Blue Shirts, who will have 2 first-rounders with which to play as the rental market, in this space known as the Patrick Kane Derby, takes shape. Now, that is a pretty complicated sentence, I will say. It's very interestingly written the way it is, but still, what Larry Brooks is pretty much saying is that because the Rangers have themselves another first-round pick at their disposal, they've got 2 first-rounders, that in which they can use to buy into the trade market. It makes it very interesting when you acknowledge how the Patrick Kane Derby is up and running. There is a linked piece going over how Patrick Kane must be the Rangers' top target if they're truly ready for the next step. But this article was published back in July, and it kind of goes over a few similar ideas that in which we had already talked about in several Kane to New York related videos. However, what I wanted to turn your attention to instead was this article published on the Chicago Sun-Times. This is from yesterday, I believe. No, 2 days ago, excuse me. And it goes over how Kane and Toews are still committed to the Blackhawks despite the disappointing moves. Now, I could make an entire other video going over the disappointment that Jonathan Toews went out there and felt bearing the Doc and DeBrincat trades, but we're probably going to save that for another day. Link, by the way, will be in the description to all the articles we look at in this video. But the article starts out by talking about the Patrick Kane trade rumors and how he had been linked to every team under the sun, and people were contacting him like crazy, saying, hey, are you going to this team, that team, whatever? Kane only chuckled about the cyclone of false information. Even Thursday, speaking publicly for the first time since April after the start of Hawks training camp, Kane regularly laughed, with a bit of exasperation thrown in, at the onslaught of questions about his future. Because behind the scenes, at least as far as he admitted, not much has been happening at all. You pay attention to it a little bit at first, and then you kind of just block it out, Kane said. I think a lot of the rumors are just rumors. Maybe they're started by people looking for things to talk about in August when there's nothing really going on with hockey, right? And, yeah. You can't see me because I'm only recording this video with my audio, but my hands are up, and I'm placing them behind my head, and I'm turning around here in my wheelie chair because, yeah, I am 100% guilty of that. It's good on Patrick Kane for knowing how the news cycle and the media entertainment cycle works here in the hockey business, but yeah, rumors, they popped up a lot. And they popped up a lot with his teammates as well, wherein they actually did end up getting traded. There hasn't been much discussion about anything, Kane said, even with my agent or with my parents or with my family. We all know the situation with what could potentially happen. It's not really anything I'm thinking about as of yet, so we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully we can get off to a good start here and prove some people wrong. I know a lot of people are counting this team out, what we can do, but we have a lot of motivated players and a motivated coaching staff as well. It would have been probably easy for people to jump the gun and try to do something after maybe some trades were made or some guys weren't signed or whatever, but that's not the position we're in right now. That's kind of funny. That's exactly what I was talking about the whole offseason. Trading away young guys and not signing other guys and letting them go away to free agency for free. It's still kind of whack in my opinion, but at the end of the day, that is indeed what happened. There are some more quotes going over the reaction to the trades and everything, and I want to talk about that in a separate video. I wanted to focus on the Rangers and the trade sweepstakes over here, pretty much what the article is saying is that, hey, Kane and Toews, there are Toews quotes in here, by the way, we just didn't read them, they're dedicated and they want to play out the season, or at least they want to play with the Blackhawks to start the season. Whether or not they get traded sometime down the line, who really knows? They both have full no-move clauses, so if there is a time, sometime in March, when the trade deadline is actually set in stone, which it actually has been now, by the way, then we'll see maybe Kane and or Toews have control of where they finish off 2022-2023 and where they start playing in the playoffs, because I could probably bet some money that Chicago is not going to make the playoffs this season. I mean, actually, scratch that. With Patrick Kane, anything is possible, but the team is probably not going to hold on to him for an extended amount of time past the March period of the year, so we'll see where exactly they end up, but that pretty much is the conclusion here, that there is a sweepstakes that is going to get started sometime down the line, and teams like the New York Rangers are piling up the potential assets they could use to make that trade go through. Hey, Nils Lundkvist is not a player that has too much value around the league because he wants out and he's not reported to camp? Well, find the one team out there that's willing to give up a first-round pick for this guy and make that trade. There's top 10 protection on that pick, I believe, but if that protection kicks in, the season after, in 2024, it's unprotected. It's fair game, no matter what happens with Dallas. So let's say the Dallas Stars suck this upcoming season and the pick does become a top 10 pick. If they suck still in 2023-2024, then there's no telling what that pick could be. And if a Chicago team is looking at a potential situation where it's like, okay, it's March, Dallas is like way out of the playoffs, if that's the case, all of a sudden that pick looks a lot more attractive in their eyes, because sometime in 2024, hey, if the Stars are still bad, Dallas might be able to crap the bed, and Chicago, or whoever owns that first-round pick from the Lundkvist trade, might be getting a pretty good gem in the draft. So what do you say about that? If the Dallas Stars end up sucking for the next 2 years, Nils Lundkvist could have legitimately been turned into a top 10 pick if the worst-case scenario for Dallas ends up occurring. And if you have a, let's say, 2024 top 10 potential projected pick, and a 2023 first from the Rangers themselves, and a Brennan Othmann or whatever, or whoever else is on the table, because I know there are a lot of Rangers prospects that Rangers fans like, but you take any of these guys and you throw them at Chicago in March and say, hey, can we take on the last few months of the Patrick Kane contract and you can get this stuff? I know on paper it's kind of disgusting to think about, oh, Patrick Kane is worth 2 firsts and a prospect? That's it? It's Patrick Kane, for crying out loud. But you gotta remember, these things always happen, especially with rental situations where the guy has control over where he wants to go. We saw this exact same thing happen with Claude Giroux last year, and Claude Giroux is a guy that was one of the best players in the entire NHL in the late 2000s, early 2010s. He was such a beast, and he got sent over for a package that I was absolutely like, yeah, darn it, the Flyers got fleeced here, man. No cap. And I made a video about it, I know. There are a lot of people going out there in the comments saying, oh, what do you think they could have done, man? It's a rental situation. He had a no-move clause. I get that. It's just funny to talk about it in the way that we talked about it. But either way, we might be shaping up ourselves to seeing a similar situation with Chicago and Toews and Chicago and Kane. New York just seems to be emerging as one of the teams that has gotten off to a head start in building their capital in the best way possible, trading away Lundkvist for a top 10 protected pick in 2023 that becomes an unprotected pick in 2024 from the Dallas Stars, who are a team that isn't really supposed to be all too amazing anyway. I mean, they could be good. They definitely can, but they have one line, and we'll see what the rest of the lineup is able to do as they continue their future. Also, we'll see how Jake Oettinger is able to perform, because he had a really good playoff series. Yeah, he did, but the rest of his body of work had not been up to nearly the same standard that he had set when facing off against Jacob Markstrom and the Calgary Flames. But either way, talk in the comments all your thoughts about the Rangers and the Patrick Kane sweepstakes. I know a lot of Rangers fans are going to go out there and start cheering against the Dallas Stars, because it's like, oh yeah, if they suck, then that top 10 protected 2023 pick becomes a 2024 unprotected pick, and that makes it a lot easier for us to go out there and make this pick worth something. So that's kind of what I think about it. Let me know in the comments all your thoughts about Kane and the Rangers and Dallas and Lundkvist. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.